track that was, because my own, like, so it's this funny thing, right, where it's like in competition piping and like parade piping and stuff like that, there's definitely a set of common marches that we play so many times that like it gets ingrained into your bones. And the Athol Highlanders is one of those, right? But
Right.
I've never ever encountered, this is just me, but I've never encountered that tune in any other context, right? So it's like so familiar to me, but so weird to be hearing it anything other than from bagpipes in a parade. So it took me a while to realize what tune that was. So is this just my ignorance? Is this like a really well known on the session, or really well known tune on the session and stuff like that? Or is that just me? And like, why, how did you end up, where'd you get that tune? How'd you end up with that tune in there?
I wouldn't say it's super well known in the Irish trad scene, but it's not like unheard of.
Gotcha. Did you put it down as a
Right.
did you guys lay it down kind of, is it jiggy? Is it feeling like a jig?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That song came to us twice this year,
How
actually.
so?
Our fiddler Riva, who joined us in who joined us in May of this year.
Mm,
She previously played with a band called the Blarney Girls out in Tennessee,
cool name.
and her audition tape, I guess, when I first talked with her, was a set that included this song. It's like three
Oh.
bit and this one and another. So we had heard it. You know, the first time we heard it was a fiddler playing it, but it came up again at one of the sessions. Do you guys remember which Scottish festival it was this summer?
The Salt Lake one.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I believe it was Salt Lake.
we
Well,
had
was that the one that was at like the fairgrounds, or was it the one that was at that church in Salt Lake City?
it's at the
The
fairgrounds.
It was at
fairgrounds.
the,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fairgrounds.
We held a session at both days at the Salt Lake City Scottish Festival this year, and we had a guy bring his small pipes,
Mhm.
and that was one of the tunes that he started, and we just kind of latched onto it, right?
Oh, it
Mhm.
totally makes sense that a guy would have, if he was a piper, a Highland piper who showed up with small pipes, that would totally make sense for him to be playing that tune. I mean, you did such a great job with it. I love it. And I was there. I was there. I wish I'd walked over and I bet I heard, were you guys on like that central stage, like kind of like right at the foot of where they did the mass bands and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was us exactly.
I most definitely like stood there for a while listening to you, watched you
Ah,
playing and stuff like that. How funny. And it was just
cool.
later
That's
that
crazy
year
to
that we
think
all
about.
become best friends.
Yeah, right. Just a few more steps.
We weren't ready then, but we are now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
changed the timeline.
There's
So then,
very few degrees of separation in the trad music
right, yeah,
community
that's so
between
true,
any
right?
two
You can't ever go more than two
people.
people without being like, oh, okay. So then what's the drone at the beginning? What did you guys use for that drone? Do you
The
remember?
drone is actually my button accordion, which
Oh.
unlike a chromatic accordion, it's a diatonic accordion, so I get a different sound for the push versus the pull
Oh yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
bellows. So I recorded about 3 seconds of it, and our sound engineer elongated that 3 seconds to however long we needed it for.
Oh, it worked really well. Because like I think I can remember Sophie mentioning that you guys had intended to get Joe Perry to come and do some uilleann drones for you. And I'm guessing maybe it was partly for that track, but that it
Yeah,
didn't
that
work out.
track and another track that didn't make the album just because of
Mm.
time, but we were gonna have him do the Wexford Carol.
Oh, what a great tune.
Yeah.
Well, that was in the back of my mind already. So then like as I'm listening this, like trying to like do my detective work, from listening, I'm like, is it strings? Did they get a hurdy-gurdy in there? Like wait, is it uilleann pipe drones? Because like I guess maybe the repeat cycle that your engineer was using is similar to like the phasing that happens with drones anyway. It's very effective. I sure liked it.
He did a great
Yeah.
job with it.
It was kind of a spur of the moment thing too. We just gave it a shot and it worked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Sam, as long as I'm asking you about this drone and your button accordion and everything anyway, tell me about yourself. Why do you play music and when did that start?
So, I started playing the violin. That was the only instrument I played
Mm.
from when I was about 7. It's funny, I actually wanted to play piano like my siblings, and we got a new piano teacher, and she wouldn't teach piano standalone. She would only teach it in conjunction with the violin because that was her main instrument.
Oh, interesting.
I ended up dropping the piano not too long after I started, but kept on with the violin. So that brought me through to college. I played violin in college. I just generally have a pretty strong knowledge of note reading and of scales and everything through violin. So I just kind of most of my musical journey until recently has just been kind of expanding on the violin knowledge. I picked up a mandolin after I joined the band, or rather a nicer mandolin. I had like a $50 one that had seen better days.
Mm-hmm.
But starting to get more serious about it, I picked up a mandolin, started playing that a lot in the band. I also got an octave mandolin, which again, yeah, it has a really unique sound, but just I didn't really have to learn anything new because I just read the notes the same. The fingerings were all the same.
Right.
I just had to be a little more creative in how I played with a bigger instrument. But kind of the banjo is where things really clicked for me. It's loud. It's kind of easy to play because they're just single strings instead of the double strings. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of banjo in the band. It's basically my main instrument in and out of the band. So
yeah. You
so
sound great on it, so there's nothing wrong with that
you.
being your main instrument.
Thank you. So we use that for the song. You can hear the intro with a little bit more of a syncopated rhythm. And then we launch into the Saw Three Ships, combine it, keeping the Atoll Highlanders music kind of going on at the same time. Our fiddler comes in, she plays. We're kind of just bouncing back and forth. One of us will play the Atoll Highlanders, and the other will play the Three Ships. And that's kind of how we came up with the idea for that song. We wanted to use that piping tune, and then we kind of just rolled the dice until we found a Christmas song that kind of matched the vibe and the tempo of it.
Oh, lovely.
And that was all we needed.
That's just what I was wondering, because that's part of what I felt was like so exciting and charming about this album is the really great fusing of very familiar holiday tunes on the one hand and very familiar trad tunes on the other, that like I never would have thought to sandwich these together, but y'all put them together real nice. They sound real good together.
Yeah, really well it's a formula that's worked for us in the past for the Christmas season, so we just kept using it.
When I was in high school, learning the pipes in the pipe band there, this was one of our favorite tunes just because it was so much fun to use the title and just act like we had a lisp and call each other Athels. we thought that was a really fun joke.
Yeah, to a high schooler,
it is a really fun joke. That's still good.
Still good, right? Not just a high schooler. Watch it, Sam. I'm an old man, and it's still hilarious.
We're all high schoolers at heart, so
ain't we though? That's awesome. Well, another one that's got like another excellent blend of that trad tune with holiday tune is the next track 2, the Gentleman Drowsy. Am I thinking of that right? Because now I've got it sitting in front of me, so I'm trying to remember. That was Drowsy Maggie, right? And
it was Drowsy Maggie. Yeah. we've been playing that one for years in those combinations in particular.
It comes through
So-
like it's just gelling. Y'all sound really great on that tune. I mean, on all of these tunes, of course, but I guess that it makes sense that y'all would have been doing this for a while. Maybe tell me a little bit about that. How long have you guys been playing together, and in what contexts and stuff like that? I know I've come across your single that you had on Bandcamp as well, but is this large of an undertaking as far as recordings go, a new thing for the group, or not so much?
Yeah, it is
yeah.
new. We've been playing
Yeah.
together for what, 2.5 years now?
Mm.
Does that
Yeah,
sound right?
total. I think it adds up to 2.5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So Gentleman Drowsy, we formed, we started playing at farmers markets, just kind of a group of people
Yeah, that's
playing
fun.
trad. And by the time I joined, like I could feel that there was something there,
Mm.
excellent musicians playing good music. And so we started performing kind of as the Christmas season started. And all we knew by then were trad tunes. And so there was kind of
Oh,
a mad scramble of how do we transform these trad tunes that we know into a Christmas set that's an hour long. And
that's so cool.
we just started pairing our carols with our tunes. Like, hey, Drowsy's an E minor. What's a good E minor
Yeah.
kind of reel that we could pair it with?
That's so fun that like this thing that like to me as the listener, I'm like, whoa, what a cool concept. How did they come up with this? And imagining like, Sam, you mentioned like rolling the dice until you found a tune that fit, right? That's exactly what I was wondering. Like, is this just like a jam around it until it works out thing? Or are we sitting down with like spreadsheets where on the one side we got the Christmas tune, the other side we got the trad tune, we're finding stuff that'll fit and stuff. And, it's a delightful thing to hear you say like, the story begins in the Christmas season and a scramble to figure out how to get a set together. But it then blooms into this like complete thing that looks very much on purpose, here a couple of years later. So that's super fun.
We do a lot of great experimentation in the moment. I feel like I'm definitely a spreadsheet person where I did sit down and said, okay, here are our tunes. These are reels. Which Christmas songs are kind of like reels?
Yeah.
But so much of the magic just happens when we're playing together and experimenting.
So do you feel like the band has like that? I feel like it's maybe like a classic thing in good groups where like you might have like, oh, what are the comparisons? Like maybe the Roger Waters and the David Gilmour of Pink Floyd, or the Paul McCartney and the John Lennon, where it's like two different kinds of genius, but they kind of have different approaches, but that precisely that difference is what makes it so like something cool comes out of it. Do you feel like you're the spreadsheet person in the group and then somebody else is like, nah, let's just jam, but then like there's a tension that turns into something special between you?
I'd say that's pretty
sort
accurate.
of. Yeah. It's kind of picture that dynamic, but in a group of three people. There's the spreadsheet, there's the notes app on your phone person, and then there's the no notes, it's all in my head person. So the three of us just kind of bounce off each other until something comes out of it.
Yeah.
Well,
for
go ahead.
every good tune pairing we come up with, there's probably 2 or 3 really bad ideas that we have to get out of the way first,
Yeah.
So it's definitely not everything we touch doesn't necessarily turn to gold on the first try, and often we kind of have to go through an iterative process of like trying something out, and maybe it's just awful the first time. We're like, okay, that was a fun idea, but maybe we'll play it a few times and then be like, this just isn't quite, it's not hitting as hard as it could. And so maybe we'll give it up at that point and try something else. But, we've played enough together that over time we've kind of worked out which ones we really like together. And that was kind of the process for the album. We had a couple of those already loaded from previous Christmas shows. And then for the rest of them, we also kind of had a wish list of ones that we'd always wanted to do and never quite put together. And I feel like the album's track list is kind of a result of both of those coming together.
Gotcha. I should have mentioned too, on the first track, it looks like it's pretty much the core group. You've got Riva on fiddle, Sam on banjo and accordion, Chris, you're on the bouzouki, Sophie, you're on bass, and then you've got this percussionist who pops up a lot on these tracks, Charles. And then in track 2 that we just heard in Gentleman Drowsy, you add in a couple of guests, right? Or is it just the one guest on the hammered dulcimer, Stephanie?
One other guest as well. We have
Oh, Emily. I see. Yeah.
Emily on the accordion.
Right.
And she's fantastic. We have loved playing with her ever since we kind of adopted her a little bit from the BYU group.
Sam,
We
are you not in one of those classic who's the cuter accordion player situations where the two of you are constantly at loggerheads fighting over it?
She can run such tight circles around me on the accordion. I'm still in my infancy. So
You're not gonna fight her for it?
no, she'll win. So but she's awesome. She's pretty busy with school. She's still in college. So we consider her like when we have her, that's the real band.
Yeah.
It's just kind of unfortunate that a lot of the times we have to make do without her just because she's busy.
Mm-hmm.
Got a life of success in front of her, and we have to let her do that while we just kind of steal her.
Just be excited when you can get her.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, those accordion players, they're very popular.
I would like to mention that Sam's accordion playing on this album, he had only been playing for I think 3 weeks. Like his accordion came in the mail.
My goodness.
3 weeks before we recorded his parts.
Yeah, one song. Oh Holy Night, that's my claim to fame. That accordion was actually me, and it was actually a melody and not just a drone. So
well, hey man, that's I mean, within that little amount of time, most people haven't even admitted to their parents that they play accordion yet. And you were already putting it on the album.
I was bragging about it from day one.
Yeah, Sam wouldn't shut up about it from day one. So kind of the inverse case there.
He did an unboxing video for us.
Oh yeah. Is that out on the YouTube, Sam? Can we put a link to that in the show notes?
It's deep in the recesses of our Facebook Facebook Messenger conversations.
Oh, gotcha. Well, we'll dig it up for the band retrospective 50-year anniversary special book or something.
Oh yeah, I'm down for that.
So what about the hammered dulcimer? I mean, that's a fun, unique instrument, and sure was effective in this track. How'd you guys find Stephanie? Is that had you worked with her before, or did you just go post a wanted ad for a dulcimer player?
Well, actually, the story with Stephanie is, oh gosh, we try to play a lot of different types of gigs. One of the kind of gigs we'll play is fantasy / Renaissance fair vibes. Kind of, we try and offer that to events. So
yeah,
maybe we'll go play at Evermore in their restaurant. We've done that a number of times. Or we'll go to Renaissance fairs and they'll have us there, which is, it's all very nice people, and we get to dress up and it's a good time. We play enough weird instruments that we fit right in.
Yeah.
But during the Utah Renaissance Fair that was held at Thanksgiving Point, we happened to bump into a hammered dulcimer player who was there just kind of, plinking along. And as you do,
plinking along.
Well, yeah. I mean,
that's really what they do. Know. Yeah, those dulcimer players.
Exactly what plink is. Exactly the sound that a hammered dulcimer makes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, as we like to do, we just kind of started jamming together with her, and Charles was actually there, and me and Stephanie and Charles ended up just jamming together for a few numbers, kind of on the fly. And gosh, how long ago was that? 1.5 years. But we decided in that moment, okay, we need to work together at some point. So that's how we first established contact. She has got quite a few instruments under her belt, very weird instruments. The hammered dulcimer is kind of a rarity in itself, but I don't know if you know what an auto harp is, but she's a very good auto harp player.
That comes up on this album, actually, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. There's an auto harp solo in the ending track, the closing track.
Don't worry, Chris. You're in good company when it comes to weird instruments. I suspect that it's a pretty widespread thing that amongst the bagpipers, that's not the only less common instrument, a person who's drawn to the bagpipes is often going to be drawn to these other ones too. So no sweat.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no,
you're talking to the right people.
These people know what hurdy-gurdies are, you know.
That's right.
Do they know what bouzouki is?
Oh,
there's
I don't.
It's like a triangle. It looks like, imagine a giant classic block, like cheese wedge.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I do. I know the one you mean. I used to drool over those in the Lark in the Morning catalog that I got at home when I was a kid.
Nerd.
You admitted that was such embarrassment.
Yeah, what are you talking about? We've all drooled over the Lark in the Morning catalog at some point. Yeah. But no, she plays bouzouki. She just has this massive just collection of all these kind of zither style instruments that she likes. And so when we finally I just knew, I had it in my mind even back then that it would be fun to do a Christmas album. And I knew that whenever that happened, we were going to have Stephanie on with us. So I'm just absolutely tickled pink that we managed to get her for so many of the tracks and get that very distinctive and kind of folksy and warm, but also kind of mysterious sound of the hammered dulcimer over so many of the arrangements.
Oh yeah, you guys have great. Is the name for like textures, like the flavors? It's many layered here. You got your windy sounding stuff, and you got your drony stuff, and your strummed strings, and your plucked strings, and your plinked strings. It's a really great mix. I'm loving the sound. When we come on to track 4, the Wenceslas polkas, I feel like we've got to pause there for a minute because having recently done that show with you guys, I know that you've got a soft spot in your hearts for polkas.
Yes.
So, the dream is 100%. To have like a 45-minute set of just polkas.
Pure polka madness.
That's what we're working towards.
That's good. I want to have you.
Shocking amount of our direction as a band is to play music for people that they would not have chosen to listen to if they weren't at the same place, unfortunately, and same time, as us.
Taking advantage of the captive audience you've got in front of you.
Always.
We force them to
Precisely.
love it.
Yeah.
We force them to love
Yeah.
it, and they just get up and dance.
Right.
That's
Well,
great.
it's not very hard to make people love polkas. I mean, when a polka starts playing, I just noticed that everyone just kind of in their heart, in their blood, they know that it's time to party, it's time to
Yeah,
dance. Kids especially know it because they're uninhibited, so they'll just start dancing. And
we make
but
jokes
wants to
about
dance when they hear
polkas, but
polka.
yeah, it's maybe it's
Oh,
the purest, truest art form, isn't it?
Do you play polkas on the pipes? Is that common?
It's a possible thing. It's doable.
Oh.
I wouldn't say it's like common, at least in the competitive piping scene, but
Mhm.
I would imagine more common when you get toward the more folksy kind of side of things.
Cool.
But
well,
we
they're great
listen to
session tunes because
polkas.
they're so simple. Yeah,
Well, and
they're so
it's
easy to pick up. They're simple melodies. They go fast. They're fun.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it might not surprise y'all to know that there's a surprising crossover amongst bagpipers and accordion enthusiasts. And so I suspect that there probably are a lot of bagpipers who have a lot of polka exposure, but via the accordion rather than via the pipes.
Oh.
But here's the thing. To me, it wasn't so much a surprise to see a polka set on this album. It was just a surprise that I didn't see more polka sets on this album. Did you have to hold yourselves back to not turn other holiday tunes
Yeah.
into polkas?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Like, yeah. Polkas
That's
go with
Well,
everything.
we wish you, yeah. I mean, polka, you could make an argument that We Wish You a Merry Christmas is polka-esque. So I would
Okay,
countenance
yeah.
that argument if someone made it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the polka is kind of, in my opinion, the style is kind of a combination of a certain BPM. It's 4/4, and it has a certain level of complexity to the melody. Past that, I feel like you get into real territory, and then the melodies are kind of simple and quick.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I'd say potentially We Wish You a Merry Christmas is definitely potentially classifiable as a polka. That's at least how I was thinking about it.
Yeah, that's fair. And on that track, of course we've got Chris, we've got you on the bouzouki, and we must also have you on bouzouki. Oh, bouzouki and whistle on the next track on Three Kings. So maybe we'll hear some of that. We'll listen to a little bit of the Three Kings. Could you tell me a little bit about yourself? Why do you play music? When did that start? And whistles and bouzouki's, that's a fun direction. Did it start there?
Well, it actually started with me receiving a key of C penny whistle when I was a teenager, and then putting it in a box and forgetting about it for a decade. So that's the beginning of my Irish journey, right?
It's funny that it started with the key of C. Seems like that would be less common.
Well, they're the cheapest, and it was given to me as a gift by someone who didn't know. So I imagine they just picked it up, thought, yeah, we'll give it to Chris. He likes music. He plays the clarinet. Maybe he'll enjoy this. And yeah, I mean, I played it a couple times, but then, even though I liked, at the time, all I knew about Celtic music was like Celtic Women or the Windham Hill Celtic Christmas albums.
Ah, yes.
Those are, I mean, they're classics, right? But very normie taste in terms of Irish music.
Yeah.
But I guess it all started back up when I got a little toy Bowerin drum from my sister for Christmas, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. And I started learning how to play it, even though, it was a literal like toy souvenir Bowerin drum.
I was going to say, I don't think you're supposed to play those, Chris. They're just supposed to hang on the wall.
I'll take it as a challenge.
I mean, the skin doesn't look so great anymore.
Yeah.
But, I played it and I learned how, I don't know, I'm not a really good Bowerin player, but I did learn how to authentically play it with the undersized tipper that it came with. And then I thought, hey, I have that whistle. So I pulled the whistle out and started learning how to play that. And then I just started learning a bunch of tunes. And then I ordered a D whistle because my Clark's D whistle wasn't enough. And then I ordered a tweaked D whistle because it was always flat. And
did you get one of those tweaked generation whistles?
It was a Clark. So it was one of the, the ones that are made of the rolled sheet metal.
Oh yeah, with the little wood thing for the fipple at the top.
The little.
Those, man, that's where you started. Those, my experience at least is that those will just suck the air out of your lungs like nobody's business. I got to think going from that to anything else.
They do. No. Oh, it was a absolute life changer to finally get. I think my next one was a Clark, but it was one with a plastic mouthpiece.
Yeah,
but it was still a conical. But no, literally you pass out trying to play one of those rolled Clark whistles. But it prepared me for things to come.
Yeah, great way to start.
Now,
right?
Yeah. Now my favorite whistle now is just a simple Tony Dixon tunable D. But I also have a soft spot for my low D whistle, which is a Sasato tunable. So they're both affordable, kind of lower end whistles. And that's because I just have other things to spend my money on,
Oh, I hear you.
And whistles are one of those instruments that have the advantage of being so cheap that you don't really have to spend a ton of money to get a super useful instrument.
Yeah. I was talking about that with my friend Jeremy a little while ago, who has a really cool bagpiping and history podcast himself, about how I mean, of course, you can spend a lot on whistles, and they are lovely. So that's an option. But he was just pointing out that whistles and jaw harps are two instruments that you can have a really good instrument for very little money, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the other thing is, whistles and jaw harps have this in common too: is they're stuck in a key, right? You can squeeze, a few keys out of one instrument, but go beyond that and you're in trouble. So it's nice that they're cheap, because then you can buy an array of them that allows you to cover, a bunch more keys. Right. Granted, the key restriction is something that pipers are familiar with. So it's not.
Yes, we are so very familiar with that. Yeah.
You can't exactly buy. It's a little bit more difficult to buy, an array of bagpipes to cover all the possible keys. So
that's for sure. Yeah. That's for sure. Hey friends, I'll be quick, I promise. I want to get you back to this really great music. I want you to be able to enjoy it some more. So thanks again to the Real Folk for coming on the show. What a bunch of delightful folk they are indeed. And what a great album. I'm sure you've been enjoying it so far. I've sure enjoyed it over and over again the last several days, and continue to do so. Probably as you're listening to this, I'm probably listening to this album again, because I like it that much. So if you want to get a copy of your own, I've got a link to where you can find it on Bandcamp in the show notes. Hop over there and look for them elsewhere too. Of course, they're all over the YouTubes and the social medias and all that kind of stuff. We'll have links for all that in the show notes. I also want to give a quick, sincere, and genuine thank you to everybody who's supporting the show. Jim, of course, who mails in the checks / gold bullion every once in a while. We were just barely recently joined by MD, who seems to be a Mel Brooks fan over on the Patreon. We got Alec over there, and and John Charles, of course, Rod, Carol, Ted, Sarah, Andrew, Bradley, Mike, Alan, Jeremy, JD, and there from the beginning, the first ever, Camille. Thank you all so very much. Very kind of you. Indeed. Also, thank you too to Ted and Mike, who aren't currently patronizing the show, but have in the past. Like, I'm still very grateful to you. I try really hard to make it clear whenever somebody hops on there that, like, any amount of support is support. Like, I'm just flattered that anybody would even want to listen to the show. So just thank you. That's what I'm trying to say here, is thank you. And as a thank you, of course, we got a dope giveaway to do here. So we'll be giving away a copy of this album. And I actually already rolled for it. So I already know that Carol won. But for the sake of the Foley, because it's just so nice, here comes the dice one more time. That dice that's so nice, you got to roll it twice. So thank you again. Congrats to you there, Carol. I hope everybody has a really happy holiday. Feel free to write into the show anytime. We got our email address and social media stuff down in the show notes as well. Let's get back to the show. Did want to hear just a little bit more from you, Chris, about the bouzouki. The bouzouki is an accompaniment instrument that a lot of us pipers hear a lot these days with small pipes, and so I think a lot of us are, if not very familiar with it, at least like kind of familiar with it. But at least for me personally, like, I'm in the kind of camp. I don't know like, as far as I understand. Like, Sam, you mentioned that you played the octave mandolin for a while. Like, I don't know that I would know the difference between an octave mandolin and a bouzouki. And in that last set, what was track 5 called? Three Kings. You were playing
Yes.
Trip to Pakistan in there, which like sounds cool on the bouzouki. Like, I don't know, maybe give me like an idiot's guide to the bouzouki if you'd be willing to.
Sure. Well, you're not alone not being able to tell the Irish bouzouki from the octave mandolin. They're very similar instruments on the face of it, but you know how dolphins and sharks kind of look the same through convergent evolution? Even though they're from totally different backgrounds. That's kind of what's going on with these two instruments. So
I see.
Even though they ended up having almost an identical form factor, to the point that you can kind of just tune one to the other and, fake. The bouzouki comes from traditional Greek music originally. And it got Irishized and brought over relatively recently in terms of folk music. But mid 1900s, I think maybe like 1960 or 70 even when it came in, possibly. But yeah, I mean, it used to be kind of a bowl-backed lute, and the Irish gave it a flat back. They changed its strings to be G, D, A, D.
Oh,
and right. I mean, it used to be the classic style of a Greek bouzouki is 3-course, not 4-course, right? So,
is it?
Yeah, at least that's kind of the original one, and usually it's a DAD tuning on those.
Very droney, then, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, that might be one reason it works so well with bagpipes.
For sure, it's very droney.
Yeah, the bouzouki excels at being able to play melody lines on the higher strings while kind of just sustaining a droning sound on the lower strings. And when you throw in a G course on the lowest pitch, as you do in the Irish bouzouki, you're able to really, it becomes an accompaniment beast. Like you're able to very easily learn how to accompany. And a lot of the chords that are kind of traditional to Irish music, they jump really easily out of the bouzouki's fretboard. So it doesn't take very much time to kind of learn those shapes. And so if you play other kinds of, strung fretted instruments, you're able to pretty quickly pick up the bouzouki. And with a capo, you can basically accompany anything with it on the fly quite easily. So it's really good for sessions in that regard.
I find that really encouraging, and I'm sure I'm not the only piper who finds that encouraging, because you're thinking like, well, I kind of want to play another thing, but I'm scared of it being hard. If someone's like, well, this isn't that hard, that makes
bagpipers think that. Bagpipers think that other instruments will be hard.
This bagpiper does. At least there's at least one of us.
I mean, look, I'm not afraid to let the cat out of the bag. I mean, bagpipers, they're kind of just playing a whistle that won't shut up,
that like won't
it's
shut
kind
up.
of the same.
Once I start, I'm not going to stop. Yeah, it's totally
right,
thing. Yeah.
And so if I've messed around a little bit on pipes, and the fingerings are pretty similar to whistle fingerings, and there's a lot of transferable skills there back and forth. And I feel like the Irish bouzouki is another one that's relatively, I don't want to, I'm not trying to disparage bouzouki players and say that they're all just, low skill or anything like that. But what I am saying is I think that the time that it takes to get up to a level where you might feel comfortable accompanying people at a session is probably a lot quicker than, say, a guitar.
Oh, I see. I totally see what you mean. Like of course there's like depth and breadth and great heights that you can rise to through hard work on the instrument, but like that initial barrier to entry is maybe comparatively.
In my experience, yes, absolutely.
Gotcha.
I jumped on the mandolin for a little bit after the whistle, and then from there I went to the bouzouki, and I've just had a great time with it for a couple of years now. And yeah, I mean, I strongly recommend it to anyone who wants to learn maybe an accompaniment Irish instrument, but that can kind of do rhythm and chords in a really flexible way. The bouzouki's there. It's a great choice. And
cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that about bouzouki players and pipers being good friends. But
yeah, it's definitely it's popping up a lot. There's some really cool pipers. I mean, immediately coming to my mind is a guy named Ross Ainsley and a gal named Bridget Campbell, who both have done albums and performances with bouzouki players. There's one named, I think his name is Steve Burns, who's popped up with them a couple of times on bouzouki, but they're not the only ones. Yeah, definitely. It seems like a match made in heaven, and it seems to be popping up more than ever these days. But
sweet. Yeah. I mean, I've definitely enjoyed jamming with a few small pipes players I've jammed with. I've even managed to jam with war pipes a couple times, though.
Nice.
It required me playing as hard as I possibly could.
I imagine, yeah.
In order to be heard. So,
yeah.
But it's a lovely instrument. I love the sound that it gives. It's a little bit more folksy, and it has a more kind of cittern-esque shaped body, so it looks more fantasy, and it gets, it fits a little bit more into like a Ren Fair than a guitar might, and so it's just
that makes sense.
It helps me fulfill my dream of being a real life Dungeons and Dragons fantasy bard.
Yeah.
So
okay, well, look, Sophie, I want to hear about you, and I want to talk about Oh Holy Night, but that's too perfect a what transition is that the word? What's the word for when you do a really good job?
Segue.
Yeah, segue. I mean, of course, I've killed the segue, right? But that would have been a great segue if I'd been a smooth operator. To ask you, what is this critical role thing you guys did a little while ago?
I'll tell you, we just know so many cool people. And that's the culmination of this album too, is just meeting amazing people and then collaborating with them. So we each had a part in it. I mean, another artist that we met at a Renaissance fair, her name is Erin, and she does fantasy harp, and we wanted to collaborate with her. And she chose the song actually, and then Chris and Sam, Chris arranged the song, and then Sam had this amazing connection to the videographers.
Yeah, they live below my floorboards. They live in the basement apartment below me. Yeah, so they were totally down to do it, and they freaking killed it.
I'll have a link to this in the show notes for anybody who hasn't seen it before. It's super good, and maybe I'll even pull some audio from it here into the interview as well, if that works for you guys.
Yeah, please do. We filmed that at a store in Provo, at the Provo Town Center, called We Geek Together. They're like a D&D fantasy gaming store, and they were kind enough to set up their store. I mean, their store looks like a tavern anyway, but everything that you'll see, the indoor shots, all of those props are from their store. And I mean, we took over half of their store for half of a day. They were so generous with us. And then the cosplayers all donated their time too. These are people that we found who had created their cosplays previously. And yeah, it was just amazing.
Yeah, it came off like not like just so good, you know, like I don't want to say like in a disparaging way, like, well, it wasn't campy, because like campy can be good too, but like it came out really great. Like the video, the audio, the costumes, all of it. That's so good. Really well done, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now,
Sophie,
it was super fun to make.
And really, anybody who hasn't seen it, hop in the show notes. It's so excellent to watch. But now, Sophie, I put it off for too long. I want to hear these pipes. I've only been aware of you as a bass player. I didn't know that you sang like this. So we're going to listen to some of Oh Holy Night here. And I want you to tell me about it. And also about yourself. When did you start doing music? Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Let me just build it all up and then say exactly the wrong thing.
What child is this who lay to rest on Mary's lap is sleeping? Warm angels three with anthems sweet, while shepherds watch are keeping. This, oh, this is Christ the King, whom shepherds guard and angels sing. Haste, oh, haste to bring him, Lord, the babe, the Son of Mary. estate where ox and ass are feeding. Good Christian, care for sinners there. The silent word is bleeding. So bring him incense, gold, and myrrh. Come, peasant king, to own him, the King of Kings. Salvation brings. Let loving hearts enthrone him.
So tell me about that. Tell me about yourself. How'd you get into music? When did you start singing versus other stuff? Tell me about all this.
Oh, sure. I don't think my parents could stop me from singing
Mm.
as a kid. It was probably very annoying. But I picked up bass in seventh or eighth grade. I played electric bass in the jazz band, and then the obvious transition was to string bass in the orchestra, and I played that all through high school. Um, and then in college, I did some jazz, and I played in a bluegrass band. But singing has been a constant.
Mm.
For a while, I was really into like classical choral and semi-professional choirs, and I sang opera chorus for a couple of years in Detroit.
Mm.
But singing with this band, it's such a different collaborative experience than
Mm.
being in a genre. When you sing in classical music, there are expectations in the drama of how you're going to sound and how the song is going to go. And I just really loved having the Sean Nose freedom of
Mm.
making that track exactly what I wanted to make it. I pulled in my friend Eliza, who plays flute. She and
Yeah.
I actually do a traditional Gaelic act at Scottish festivals. We've done it in Miami the past couple years. They'll fly us out. And she is fluent in Gaelic and Scottish Gaelic. And I accompany her on harp, actually. So I was so grateful that she came and recorded the flute for What Child Is This? And I'll tell you, I sent her a couple of texts of like what I wanted the track to be like. Like, okay, we had this traditional tune, Lag and Love. We're gonna put What Child Is This lyrics to it.
Yeah.
But when at the studio, we had her for a day and had her record Trip to Pakistan, and she has a solo and We Wish You, and just all of this really amazing flute work that she does. But she understood the assignment for this song immediately. I think she heard the drone and heard
Yeah.
just the beginning of my vocals, and then she just whipped out that amazing flute solo.
It's
And
got
then,
such a cool sound.
didn't she? Oh, she's
that
just
breathy kind of quality to it, and all of the like slurs up and down and stuff. And yeah, so cool.
so fabulous. She's actually a very talented jazz flautist too. So
Mm.
we're lucky enough to surround ourselves by amazing people.
Yeah. Well, and was that drone another button box drone, or was that something else?
Yeah, that was Studio Magic with Sam's accordion. And then halfway through the song, I did add in some bass drone. I'm playing.
Yeah. Gotcha. No, that what is it? Laggin' Love? Is that the name of the tune the guy used there?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Actually,
was it,
Sophie.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Oh, no, just, yeah. So that tune, Lag and Love, Sophie made one of my dreams come true with this track, because I've I've the first time we can't exactly take all the credit for pairing that tune with that carol, because I mean, obviously, What Child Is This is normally paired with the Greensleeves tune,
Sure, yeah.
but Apollo's Fire, which is a Baroque orchestra, I mean, they put out this this album called Sacrum Mysterium. It's a Celtic Christmas Vespers album. I strongly recommend giving that a listen through during the holiday season. It'll take you right back to kind of ancient, medieval and Baroque sounds, and they have their soprano sings it and just does a magnificent job. And I've always thought that it's just such a beautiful tune to put the words to. And we're just so used to hearing What Child Is This and those words to the Greensleeves tune that when you take it out of that context and bring it into this new one, I don't know, I feel like it lets you kind of, consider it all over again, kind of with fresh ears.
Yeah, it changes the way that you listen to it, huh? Well,
Yeah,
really well done, Sophie. Freaking beautiful.
Hey, thank you so much. There's a recording of Lag and Love by the Chieftains and their latest album, which I think is like 2010 or 2012. And the vocalist on that one is Lisa Hannigan, and she's really who I was trying to emulate. Just very like primal, earthy kind of sound, and just a very simple arrangement. So again, this is maybe the first time in my musical career where I feel like I have this creative freedom. Like this has really been so excellent to get into the studio, and we kind of split up the tracks, I guess, on who did the arranging and chose musicians to play on it and stuff. But that's just been so fulfilling for me.
That seems to have worked out well, though. I mean, like it's not like the album, of course, has so many artists in it that of course there's going to be variety there. But I certainly didn't reach the end of the album on my third or fourth or even fifth listen through and think like there's one mind behind this, like there's variety, and that I think that's a good thing, and that's probably a cool decision on your part to do it that way.
Thank you.
And actually, you mentioned your background in sort of like more classical and formal kind of like maybe like choral music and stuff, and I feel like kind of calling back. Do you remember track 3, Light of the Stable? Which I didn't know. I've never heard that tune before at all, but I did wonder, like, whoever's singing lead there also did a great job. But there's this like really strong kind of choral backup going on there. Is that because did you do that, Sophie? Is that because you're a choir gal?
Hail, hail to the newborn King. Let our voices sing him our praises. Hail, hail to the guiding light that brought us tonight to our Savior. Hallelujah, hallelujah, shine so bright to the knowing light of the stable. Kneel close to the child so dear. Cast aside your fear and be thankful.
Emmylou Harris recorded. And that was a request from our fiddler, Riva. That was a song she wanted on the album. And it's more of like a country gospel feel. Mm-hmm. So I did do some like directing in the, I felt like a director, as we all recorded it together. But that lead singer, Josh McNeff, he has a big country background. And then we pulled in some friends for the backing vocals. But that's Chris and I, and then our friend Danny.
Hail to the newborn King, let our voices sing him our praises. Hail, hail to the guiding light that brought us tonight to our Savior.
Watched from the couch. It was really fun.
Well, somebody had to, right?
Yeah.
Right, Sam?
Yeah. Well, it was funny that you mentioned Light of the Stable. I was gonna say something about it because there's a lot of variety in the tracks, and each one of us kind of has a track that we all like advocated for. Like We Three Kings is definitely Chris's baby. The Three Ships is definitely my baby. And What Child Is This for Sophie? And like Sophie mentioned, Riva was like, I love this song and I want to do it. And we were like, yes.
Yeah.
Your wish.
As host, I now get to play the part of a judge of the baby contest, and I'm going to pick which of your babies is the best.
Please don't. I can't handle this.
I can't handle rejection.
I'm just joking. Well, thank
goodness.
Tell me about track 9, Oh Holy Night. Really, really pretty. I felt like there's like a lot of like different voices going on here, not just like vocal voices, but like it seems like probably different whistles and flutes and all kinds of different stuff going on there. And how do you pronounce that fairy tune? Is it Shobeg?
Shebeg Shimor.
Shebeg Shimor. Another great pairing, I thought, of a trad tune and a carol. Like, so fun. So what about that one? Was that another casting the dice, or did you guys know ahead of time, like, oh, these two will go together? Is this pulled from live sets? How did this one happen?
I arranged this one. We had mentioned Oh Holy Night in brainstorm sessions, and it's been done so many times before.
Especially with female vocals.
Yes. Yeah, so we talked about how we could make it different. I think we knew that we didn't want spoken, not spoken, but we didn't want sung lyrics. And the violinist for this track, Melissa Draper, is...
Oh yeah, it wasn't
a regular fiddler. We actually met her at the Salt Lake City Scottish Festival this year. She saw our set, and then we were sitting and watching another band. Is that right, guys? And she came up.
Yeah, that's how it went down, if I recall.
She came up and just said, I loved your set. You guys sounded great. And we've learned that when someone comes up and tells us that we sound great, they're either a musician or they have some other connection to Irish music. So we've gotten very good at asking, like, oh, well, do you play an instrument? And secondly, would you like to come jam with us?
Yeah,
so it turns out Melissa is a professional violinist. She plays regularly at Ballet West and has played with the orchestra at Temple Square and is just fabulous. And I wanted to have her on this album. It was just a question of which track. And this
I
turned
love
out to be fun.
I love all of this, you guys, that like so much of this is like every single one of these is packed full of all these amazing guests, and all of them have a story that you were at the Ren Fair or at the Scottish Festival or whatever. And it's like you're saying yes to the universe. I know it sounds really cheesy, right? But like that's kind of what you're doing. You're just like you got your antennas out there, you're going out into the world, and as things come, you're just saying, yeah, hello, hi, yeah. And look what it turns into. This is so cool.
If that's accurate. I feel like that's kind of how we operate the band normally, is between the three of us, we're kind of like the owners and the like we're just steering the ship a little bit. But we can always sense when someone has a little bit of an itch they need scratched, a little bit of an interest in what we're doing. And like that's how it is with like Emily, our accordion player. It's just like they need a little bit more outlet in their lives to play some cool folk music, and we just try to be there and help them make it happen.
Are you guys also like especially catering to the harp community? Because it seems like maybe you like went to the harp shelter and adopted a few harpists. Because like you got, do you have 4 different harpists listed on the credits for this album?
That mostly that falls on Sophie's shoulders, I think.
And I don't think we have
only
Sophie
kinda.
listed as a harpist here either. So there's
Yeah.
like 5 harpists on the album.
Did we set a record for the most harpists on a track?
You might have.
Possible.
I didn't even realize until now.
I'll talk
The
about
exception.
the majority of the harpists in a minute, but Chris actually has the connection to Caroline, who plays for O Rogery Doob, Joe Perry's.
Oh yeah. Okay, well,
And
I've heard her play before. Yeah.
And you'll hear her on We Wish You. She is on fire every time she plays.
So fast.
Oh, it's super
little
cool.
known story, but I mean, I knew Caroline because we lived in the same neighborhood. And when I was kind of getting into the whistle, she happened to mention, did you know I play Celtic harp? And I said, that's pretty cool. And in those early days, I went to one of Joe Perry's sessions that he has with his group, and I invited her to come the next week, but then I didn't make it back. But she did go.
Yeah, and then she ended up joining his band.
She ended up joining his band. So if I'd only held off, maybe she would have joined our band. But I mean, she makes amazing music with them.
And where's your agent's commission from all the gigs she gets, huh?
Oh gosh, I mean,
Caroline has been playing since childhood. Her father makes harps. Celtic harps on the East Coast, in Maryland. Wow. And she went to like Celtic music camp growing up in middle school and high school.
Where was that camp? I had to go to Scout. I went to Camp Jeremiah Johnson and had to watch out for rattlesnakes and stuff. Dagnabbit. That sounds way nicer.
Yeah, listen. So they would learn a bunch of tunes. They would basically make an album in a week. So they would learn a bunch of tunes, and then together they would arrange it and then perform it.
And that's what kids were doing every summer.
I know. Where was I? What was I doing?
Yeah. I mean, it just goes to show how interconnected and how vibrant the local kind of Utah folk music scene is. You know, especially people who move in, you know, all they really need is one connection, and that connection can just explode into a million connections in a year, you know?
Yeah.
And that was, I feel like that was the case with her. She just needed to find a group to play with. And now, I mean, she's just become such an awesome member of their band. And we were so lucky to get her to come accompany us and play on our album and throw down a really awesome solo at, I mean, that last track that we did, We Wish You Merry Christmas. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it a little later, but we were like, you know, if you can't play your solo at full speed, don't worry. Like, the tempo's all over the place, you know, between the tunes. So just whatever you're comfortable with. And then she just blazed off the solo at absolute max speed.
She was like, could you guys actually pick it up a little?
She's like, yeah, this is fine. And we said, okay, well, go for it then. You know, she's so accomplished that we were just happy. But yeah, I mean, besides her, the rest of the harpists, I think Sophie got in on it.
Yeah. So a couple years ago, I think a year ago, I do. I really enjoy playing bass. I enjoy being part of a rhythm section. I love like feeling the vibrations of the bass against my body, I think. Like I don't know.
Mm.
It's I love playing bass, but um as we're booking shows, I sometimes feel a little useless because if we don't have a melody player or we don't have a rhythm player, we don't have a gig. And so I had this brilliant idea of, well, I'm going to play a melody instrument. So I purchased a small harp, and it turns out playing the harp is pretty difficult. Like playing trad tunes on the harp is pretty difficult. So I've been taking lessons, and it's coming slowly, but that kind of dexterity, it kind of like violin probably, it takes years to build that skill. So Bring a Torch, Jeanette Isabella features 4 harpists that are all in my teacher's harp studio. Bridget Jackson is a local harpist. Her band actually won the NPR Tiny Desk concert this year.
Yeah. Okay, then
Part of
I saw the
Lowland.
video they submitted. That was super cool. They're out of Springfield, right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah,
They
so she's
deserve to
been like
win.
on tour for NPR all summer,
That's
which
so
has been
cool.
cool. But she was so helpful. She recorded all of the harp parts in her studio, and then we mixed them. We mixed them later, but
Sophie, the one note that I put under track 8, Bring a Torch, Jeanette Isabella, in case we got to it, was I just put the question, did you have all your harpists together in one room for this track?
That would have been cool.
we recorded them separately.
Oh, okay,
But
okay.
I regularly attend and play at harp recitals where there are, 8 or 9 harps
Yeah.
in a church, and we all play together. It's
Sophie,
fun.
Have you ever heard of the Spanish Peaks Piper's Retreat that happens in Colorado every year?
No, I haven't.
It's like, it caters to like small pipers, Scottish small pipes, uilleann pipes, that kind of stuff mostly. But they often combine with harpists as well. So it's the Spanish Peaks Pipers and Harpers Retreat. Maybe every year, but certainly a lot of the years. And they just get a room full of harpists and small pipers. And I've never gone, but it seems like it's probably pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so cool.
And it's just in Colorado. Tell me about the name, The Real Folk, REEL. It's clever. It's fun. I like it. So where did that come from?
We like reels.
Yeah. It was
And
like
the
10
polka
minutes
folk
of
didn't have
brainstorming.
the same ring to it.
No. Plus, there's no pun factor there.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like we talked about it for like maybe 10 to 15 minutes. We battled on if it should be Real Folk or The Real Folk. We settled on Real Folk and then quickly reverted, called it The Real Folk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's fun that I play with, a little secret to the listening audience here. I play with a band called the Fabled Folks. And so there's obviously a like to the death, what was that Jet Li, the one movie, or like Highlander, right? Like there can be only one.
The only one.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
This
and we have
it's gonna
dueling
happen eventually.
banjos. Dueling banjos all set, right, Jim?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Except it'll be dueling banjos and dueling harpists, obviously, and dueling accordionists. And we're all going to be dueling. And eventually there will be one folk.
Yeah. Sam, you're handling 3 of those duels single-handedly. Are you good for that?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or if we count the guitar. So
There we go. Well, I like the name. It's very cool, and it's fun to think that, like, of course it fits, so of course you came to it pretty quickly.
I have a sentimental, sappy comment about our band name, The Real Folk.
Yeah, good. Tell me,
We
yeah,
made
bring tears to my eyes.
Okay. We kind of went through a transition earlier this year where we had some band members leave and we got a new fiddler, or we found a new fiddler, and the three of us were talking about our name, The Real Folk, and kind of maybe the meaning in it is that we play music with whoever wants to play music. Like the folk of the real folk is inclusive, that whoever would like to play music with us is welcome to play music with us. And that goes into the sessions that we've had. Like we've had a number of Scottish sessions this summer at a couple of Scottish festivals, and we hold a regular session, a kind of a learning session in at the Springville Library every month. That's just a blast. We just get people who maybe haven't touched their instrument for like, I don't know, years, who will come, and it's just so much fun.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's dangerous that a
About
kind of elitism can sneak into even session music. And so to have that in mind, and I think this also is like it's being borne out by again this awesome collaborative album that you've put together, that open and welcoming feel. That makes sense.
Yeah, I find that mind blowing. I guess, yeah, it really does feed into kind of the direction we took for the album. I remember discussing early on that we kind of wanted it to be a celebration of just all the really cool musicians we had met and connected with, playing in sessions or just happening to meet and invite to jam with us.
Mhm.
We wanted it to kind of be a wide-reaching, kind of a showcase of all the awesome local musicians that we've been able to, share this experience, which is folk music with.
Yeah.
And I you can just communicate through a jam in a way that is impossible through words if you choose to use it that way. And yeah, I love inspiring people to kind of pick up their instruments and decide to do, one new thing with their life, which is, develop a skill and put that skill into their hands and into their hearts and
Mm.
let that enrich their lives. And that, in my mind, that's the real magic of folk music, is participation. I feel
Mm.
like you can enjoy it listening to it, but you'll never enjoy it as much until you get into it and start making it in some fashion. And it's really never too late to, start.
Mm.
And in my experience, really quick, of me first learning about the band is that my cousin, she texted me and was like, "Hey, I need someone to fill in on guitar in my like Celtic folk band. Do you want to come try and practice?"
Mm.
And I've played guitar since I was 15. I'm pretty confident on it, but I felt like a lot of my musical talents were being criminally underutilized. And so I was like, well, I do technically play the guitar. It doesn't sound that difficult. So
Mm.
sure, I'll go. And it was an instant thing. I mean, like I was like, I'm playing music. Like I know how. I've always known how, but I have not really had the time. Like ever since I finished college, it's been not really a thing. And then all of a sudden it was, and I didn't really look back at all. So
Mm. Well, that's beautiful. And I think that all of this seems to shine through in the album. So let me just say real quick, if anybody doesn't have the album yet, there'll be a link to where you can get it on Bandcamp in the show notes. We have not listened to all the tracks, and all of them are great. And that finisher track, the note that I wrote under that one when prepping for the interview was, "This feels like a victory lap." So is that about right? Does that sum it up?
yeah, that sums it up.
Yeah.
But speak. Oh, what were you gonna say, Chris?
Oh, I mean, I know where you're going with this, Sam, but I promise I won't steal your thunder. But it's just, I thought about it like, when you go to see a play and it's the bows music after like the
Yes.
final note,
Yeah.
that's kind of what we wanted to do. It's like anytime we had a person come in and record something, we're like, hey, record solo, and we're going to
Mm.
throw it at the end of the album, interspersed with a bunch of kind of frenetic "We Wish You a Merry Christmas" verses. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I dig it. Yeah.
Okay, so 2-minute dash to the finish line on the story of the song.
It's all you, Sam. I won't interrupt you.
We were at a party on St. Patrick's Day, and I heard a song on the Bluetooth speaker. I Shazammed it, and it was the Chieftains, Give the Fiddler a Dram. I was instantly infatuated with this song. It was so cool. It was just really simple formula: chorus, solo, chorus, solo, chorus, verse, chorus. It always came back to this chorus, and it was such a banger. And so all these different musical like solos on display. I even Shazammed it a second time because it's like a 10-minute song, and it really starts to wander towards the end, but it always comes back to the same chorus. And so I've probably listened. I mean, it showed up in my top 5 songs for the year, on Spotify. Obviously, it's such a good one. So we came up with the idea of just modify the rhythm of "We Wish You Merry Christmas" a little bit, give it more of a 4/4 feel than a 3/4 waltz. And we're like, this is our time to showcase what we got. So we came up with the idea: we do the chorus, we do a solo, we do the chorus, we do a solo. And it gave us an opportunity to get a really cool violin solo, a really cool harp solo, a really cool accordion solo. And we just dragged it out as long as we could. And it really is just kind of a celebration of everything we've done this year. As Sophie talked to us about that, it's kind of like our year recap of some of the stuff we did, some of the music we played with other groups, the people we've met. It was really just, it was a little gratuitous, but in, I think, a really good way.
No, 8 minutes would have been too much. 7.5 was perfect.